Shoes. Recorded live.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, July 8th. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're having our regular Neomorphosis call. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody on this call, whether you're listening live or you come in and listen to it when it's recorded, understand what we're doing here. And so let me tell you by what we're doing, by what we're not doing as well. And what we're not doing is giving legal advice here. So don't ask us. Well, none of us are attorneys to license. None of us have licenses to practice law. Of course, either do attorneys. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to give you any legal advice. So again, please don't ask. We're also not going to give you any tax advice. If you need legal advice or you need tax advice, go find someone. And I wish you well with that. So, what we're going to do here today is we're just going to share ideas and concepts, and we're going to provide information, and it's to be interpreted as informational, educational, or you can even use it as recreational if you so desire. So if you hear something on this call and you decide to use it for whatever reason, then take full responsibility for it and use it or do it because that's what you want to do and you understand it, you can enforce it, and you believe unequivocally that it's the right thing for you to do. So that having been said, I was approached. By the way, I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. And before I get too further, I don't want to forget this one part. I wonder if there's anybody on the call here, and you might think about this between now and next week. What is the Constitution? What is it really? And
is it a contract between the states and the federal government?
Partly. But as some of you know, we've been talking about, and we're going to be moving in a direction here where we're going to be talking a lot about trust. And is it not the ultimate trust on the face of not on the face of the planet, but one of the most interesting trust, probably one of the more talked about trust on the planet. The question is, who was the grantor? As you know, there's a couple different components to any trust. One is you have to have a grantor, you have to have a beneficiary, you have to have a trustee, and one of the things you don't hear all that much talk about is the actual custodian. So we are going to be talking about the different trusts that are out there, the different trusts that you're in, that you may know you're in, you may not know you're in. As a matter of fact. I can tell you that every parking ticket has a trust. Every criminal case, every civil case has a trust. And one of the reasons that so many people are getting themselves why they're getting themselves so wrapped around the axle is that they don't understand that they're the trustee. And if you don't understand yourself acting as the trustee, you can get yourself in quite a bit of trouble. So one of the things that people need to understand is you want to make sure as you go about your daily lives out there and moving in amongst people in your commercial affairs, you want to make sure that you're the beneficiary and you're not the trustee, because the beneficiary gets the benefits and the trustee has to settle and make sure that the trust is properly taken care of. So the fact of the matter is, though, in a lot of these trusts, you are the grantor. So the grantor has the ability to either resign themselves as a trustee and or grant themselves the position of beneficiary, and or vice versa, and appoint a trustee. And when you do something like that, that can put a party like, let's say a prosecuting attorney or a DA or an attorney or a judge in a very, very, very uncomfortable position. So anyway, there's new information coming out about that, and we'll actually have some folks on the call who know quite a bit about this, and we'll be sharing a lot of information. So you want to make sure that you come to the calls, or at least go to the archives and listen to those recorded calls when it comes to that. I was I was asked last week to talk a little bit about, what's going on with some of the frivolous filings. Apparently, there's quite a few letters that have just recently gone out to people, and there's a variety of them. Some of them are actually people are being assessed a $5,000 frivolous filing fee, and some of them are just getting the letter from Maureen Green stating that you have 30 days to reposition yourself and fill out a new or declare a different status, I should say, with regard to your position on your 1040X, and they want you to sign another 1040 and release yourself from that refund. Some other things that are going on, of course, is that as many of you probably know, if you've studied anything about this OID technology, if you had a $200,000 refund, for example, you do have to pay the IRS the tax, and you do have to pay the state the tax. Well, apparently what IRS is doing, they may have collapsed the account with the 1099-A, and what they're doing is the amount of the tax that would have been deducted from the refund. Excuse me. Apparently, IRS is now saying that you owe them that money. Just beyond comprehension. So, anyway, we had received some information about a couple different statutes that you can incorporate into any responses that you may or may not use with, responding to any of these frivolous filings or threats or whatever. Some of you, the right thing to do may be to, decline your position and go ahead and sign another 1040X and, just stop the whole process. That may be what is best for you. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you what not to do. I'm just suggesting that, you just don't want to do anything. You need to do something because anytime they contact you, it is a presentment. And the worst thing you can do is go quiet on them and not respond because, and in my humble opinion, if you don't respond, then you're going to find yourself in dishonor. So I wouldn't recommend you do that. So one of the titles that you may want to consider, and you can look it up, and we'll also put this on the Yahoo group so you can pull it off that site. Some information here would be to read it and understand it so that you may incorporate it into whatever response you may or may not use. There's also, the idea here around the FOA response as well, which is, a way to, you have to excuse me, my dog's got friends and family and other dogs outside here, and he's wimping out a bit, so I apologize for that. If you can hear him, hope it's not going to interfere too much here. Anyway, if you decide to go and file a FOA request, there's information on the website with regard to doing that, which is basically your Freedom of Information Act that falls under 5 U.S.C. 552 and the various Internal Revenue Codes, which is 26 U.S.C. 6103, and I think it's 6110. Anyway, you may want to consider incorporating these two into, excuse me, a FOA request as well, or just a response back to Maureen Green. And one of them is 26 U.S.C. Section 6751. Now, I very rarely have heard people use the term silver bullet, but if you read this closely, this might just be as close to a silver bullet as you'll ever find, because what it's going to talk to you about here is a procedural the requirements, and the computation of penalty included in notice. And it goes on to say that the Secretary shall include with each notice of penalty under this title information with respect to the name of the penalty, the section of this title under which the penalty is imposed, and a computation of the penalty. And then under the approval of the assessment in general, no penalty under this title shall be assessed unless the initial determination of such assessment is personally approved in writing by the immediate supervisor of the individual making such determination or such higher level official as the secretary may designate. Now, and then there's also Title 26 U.S.C. 6203. And let me say both of those for you again in case you're taking notes. It's 26 U.S.C. 6751 and Title 26 U.S.C. 6203. And 6203 goes on to state, and again, we'll have these, that'll be put up on that Yahoo group over there for you, which states, upon request of a taxpayer, the secretary shall furnish the taxpayer a copy of the record of assessment. So if you, in your FOA, demand to see the assessment, guess what? They've got to show it to you. And they can't show it to you. And I'll go on to give you some more information about this. It says, and states that the initial determination must be made and approved in writing before the assessment of any penalty, except for failure to file and pay under Title 26, which obviously none of us or none of you have done. If they cannot produce the determination and approval, then there can not exist an assessment. And so, folks, this short but powerful section, again, may be something you want to use to overcoming any frivolous penalties. And you can incorporate that FOA and ask for the determination under 6751. And by their own laws, it'll defeat them. So, and if you couple that with Code Section 7491C, again, that's Code Section 7491C, and that one states that in a court proceeding, the burden of proof is on the secretary. And so you have a very powerful and effective simple knockout punch, as 6751 is powerful enough to give to an agent that would come against you, that he or she might want to issue and get your refund to you as soon as possible, or drop any notion about a return being frivolous. The courts today have a very interesting saying within their system, and it's called the Bright Line Test. Again, it's called the Bright Line, BRIGHTLINE test. And what it means is there is no room for interpretation of someone's action. It makes the court's job very easy. And Section 6751 is a bright line test. So if an IRS agent does not have the discretion, or the IRS agent doesn't have the discretion to make an assessment in the absence of the determination and approval required by this Section 6751. So if an agent is acting beyond his or her authority, and they can be sued as a private individual under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So, if they think if you play that card on them, they've got to know in their training that if you hear this section, you may want to back off, because now they can come after you personally. And if you come after them personally, then now we're talking about liens. You're talking about levies on them and everything else. So it could get pretty ugly on them really fast for someone who's let's say a little disturbed about what's going on in the country right now, and a little disturbed about what's happening, and they perhaps have some desire and passion to make a rogue agent's life a living hell. So and what that really means is that means that the DOJ can't handle the case for them. That means they went out on their own, they crossed the line, and if you cross the line, the DOJ's not going to be able to go, oh yeah, we'll save you. No, you go out there on your own with your ego and your arrogance and thinking that you're bulletproof and something can't happen to you. Well, guess what? You'd be wrong. So now the hunter now becomes the hunted, and as my friend Michael James always says, that's when you want them to start reaching for the Maalox, the Tums, or the Pepto-Bismol, or maybe something that even gets things moving a little quicker than that. Maybe a little X-Lax, I don't know. So when something like this starts to take hold, this is when the fun begins. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of hard work, involved in it. Again, it just means that the hunter has now become the hunted. So there's one other thing here that I'll just read this part to you. It says, note, a frivolous penalty being theoretically based on a conclusion of law, notwithstanding the obvious fact that no IRS agent is equipped either educationally or by job description with coming to such conclusions, is not one that is calculated through electronic means, like the failure to file or failure to pay. Penalties at sections 6651, 6654, and 6655, again, 6651, 6654, and 6655, all of which are simply percentages of other established figures. And thus simple math calculations. So that's some pretty good stuff. With any of the frivolous filings, there's been some different methods that I've heard that apparently are working, and some are and some aren't. I don't know. I know that some money orders and doing the accepted for value and sending it back to Treasury in D.C. and you write things out. I've read about and heard from different parties, several things that seem to be working. I don't know. I can only go on what people talk to me about, share with me, tell me about. I haven't done any of the money order kind of stuff. So, again, here, one of the things you want to do immediately, I would think, is you want to get, your Freedom of Information Act request out there and get that into the process and mention this and say, okay, you say I have a frivolous filing, you say I owe you frivolous money, well then we're going to use the Freedom of Information Act request to demand that you show me the paperwork and send it to me. And then if they don't, then you have them in dishonor and you can put it into the public record. And once it's into the public record, if you wanted to, I guess you could, if it was me, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be setting myself up with all the necessary paperwork so that if I had to go defend myself, it would be pretty, it would be pretty easy to do. And again, I can only share information with you guys what I might do if it was me. The rest of this is some of it is, kind of learning on the fly. I do know that I believe Tim Strand's response to some of this frivolous filing stuff is also on that Yahoo group that you are, it's all freely given and freely received. So it's up there on the Yahoo group. And as I remember, it's, and Matthew, chime in here if I'm incorrect, but it's Free Americans, that's plural.
The Free Americans.
The Free Americans, thank you. The Free Americans.
Go to groups.yahoo.com, and then in the search bar type in The Free Americans. And the packet that Dave's talking about is the IRS Master Response File. There's two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. It's under Forms.
Okay, so there you have it. What we discussed tonight, sorry guys for me being such a schmecklehead about knowing that, but that's what I rely on, Matthew and Tim and some others to help us with this, which brings me to, the point that you guys hear me talk about a lot on this call, and that is don't go out there by yourself. Find some teammates, find some other people who are interested, and because they're all around you. I would bet that any I would bet any amount of money. Well, there is no money, but I would bet if I had silver and gold, I would bet a stack of them on the fact that you have people living within a mile of you who are totally getting trashed, and they need help, they need support, they need love, they need prayer, they need all kinds of things. Many of you are sitting here on a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just as guilty of this. I have all this knowledge, and I have all this technology, and faith without works is dead. So what am I doing with it? It's just information if it's sitting inside my head. So there are a lot of people out there that chose to go down the OID road and file their original issue discounts. And every single one of you that did that did it legally and lawfully. Isn't that interesting? So, what it's really about learning is to make sure that we're standing in honor and we're doing what's right. And because the only thing these guys can do is continue to do what? I mean, how are they going to defend their own system and their own idea behind what's going on? I was talking to one of my best friends today, and he was telling me about a family, and I won't say where. I'll just tell you they're in another state than where I live, and they did, I believe, their 2008 OID, and I'm not sure whether they got a check or they got an electronic transfer, but 3 days later, here come 3 rogue agents out of Atlanta after them. Now, wait a minute. Let's make sure I understand this right. And by the way, I've heard this in several arenas on several other fronts where, IRS sends them a refund, and 3 days later, these guys are kicking down the doors. Well, wait a minute. So they totally knew what they were doing. They're setting them up, they're baiting them, and they're giving them the money, and then they're turning around and, they're filing liens, they're filing levies, they're zero balancing their checking accounts, they're threatening the banks where they do business. I mean, they're doing everything they can to destroy these people's lives. Now, I can tell you that this one family, the woman is about, I don't know, she's probably very, very close. She's in her final trimester, and she's very close to delivering and having a baby. And here, they're taking the wages of the husband. I think that he told me that they're taking 40% of the net paycheck. So it's pretty ugly on them right now. There is good news in part of it, and that is the people got the money away in time, and IRS wasn't able to get their hands on the money. But now they're going to go out here and see what they can do about making these people's lives a living hell. So with IRS out there now attacking literally tens of, maybe not hundreds of thousands of people, and now there's millions and millions of people now that know the truth. I think it's pretty evident that there's a lot of people out here in America today that said, enough's enough, we've had enough, and they bought the guns and the ammunition to prove it. So is it going to come down to rogue agents and military and sheriffs and everybody else that are going to turn on their fellow brothers and sisters in this country and start shooting them? Because I can tell you that the vibration between law enforcement right now is many of them are now facing what they're being told and talked about martial law and all these other crazy things, and they've got to make a decision. First of all, if you're a sheriff or an FBI.
Did we lose you, Dave?
Pardon me?
Oh, we lost you there.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the last thing you heard me say?
I don't know.
Well, there you have it. I'm saying
I just
that.
heard you stop talking.
Okay. Well, what I was.
He said if you're FBI or sheriff.
Right. So if you're FBI, sheriff, whatever capacity law enforcement that you're in, the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to walk away from your family and leave them exposed? Are you going to pull the trigger on your neighbor down the street and doing it knowing that you're doing it because of the Rothschild banking cartel and the IMF and the Illuminati and these evil men and women who want to, let's face it, they want to kill billions of people. That's what they want to do. They want to eliminate. And that's, you can go to the internet, man. You can read up on this stuff. It's right there. And, that's beyond frightening. It's downright insane. Yes.
This is Steve. How are you?
Hey, Steve. Good. Hey.
I was away at a festival for 2 weeks. So can I ask you, if they kill all these billions of people, then who's going to do all the work?
One of the other people said, yeah. So who's going to pick the lettuce? And that's a really good point. Who knows? I don't know. But here's what I do know: they're up to no good. They're up to evil. And I do know that they do want to do away with many of the people on the planet. And of course, they're doing that with starvation. How many children are dying every day of starvation? Pastor Rod Parsley. I just got an email from him, and he's normally asking for contributions, and he goes abroad. He goes to Africa, and he goes all around the world feeding hungry people, and he does a lot of things. He goes in and shows them farming, and he digs wells, and he does a variety of things. But it's interesting because now in his latest email to me, he's talking about, and I've never seen him talk about this. And by the way, if you've never seen Pastor Rod Parsley's talk about the Federal Reserve, it's absolutely phenomenal. And I would encourage you to go do a Google. It's about a 45-minute presentation that he does, a sermon on the Federal Reserve and our money and our monetary system to his congregation in Ohio. And it really, really is fabulous. And so, again, I've never seen an email from him where he's actually asking for contributions to help people in the United States. But this one I got today, he is actually doing that because he's talking about, and I'm just going to go here and open up the email real quick so I can share just a bit of it with you.
My question is, Dave, is why he didn't support Ron Paul then, if he was so. That's an interesting thing. Be very careful of all those people on the pulpit that are talking about politics.
What I would encourage you to do: go watch his sermon and come to your own conclusion. Because I'll tell you what, he is the call it what you want, talk, presentation, sermon, whatever it is. He's talking about the Federal Reserve, and he's talking about money, and he's talking about usury, and I think he does a beautiful job of bringing the usury to the table on what's going on. And anyway, he's talking today in this email about families living in Chicago and Miami and Coachella Desert area in California, which is where all the people, some of the people that have been foreclosed upon in California are now living, in those communities. Okay. Well, I'm getting other information here. Well, I have friends who I don't know anything about the man other than I watched the one sermon that he did, and I thought it was pretty powerful. I've the video again that I saw was I thought it was really good. But I'm being told here that apparently there's other information about him. So I'm not suggesting that you join his congregation or his church or give him money or any of those kinds of things. I will just say that I found it interesting that he's now asking for money for people in the United States rather than in other parts of the world. And Stephen makes a really good point, and I agree with him 100%, and that is that there are many standing on the pulpit today, and in my humble opinion, one of the main reasons that America is where it is today, in some regards, has a lot to do with the church and the 501(c)(3)s, and the fact that many churches are impotent today and they don't teach the truth. So,
I came on late. Would you please state the name of this person, the pastor, and can we read it online?
You can. It's Pastor Rod Parsley.
Parson?
Parsley, Parsley, I believe is how it's spelled.
That's right. And that was a great message he shared about. But I'm saying he didn't follow it up. He got through it, told everybody about it, and then walked away from it.
Yeah, I was.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting because many of us on this call, I don't know all, but many of us could go listen to his talk, sermon, whatever you want to call it, and we at the end would go, well, that was really great. And one of my best friends I was just talking about here, he said the same thing. He goes, yeah, it was a great sermon, but guess what? He's still clueless. He doesn't get it. He's not there. He's not pointing a finger at the cartel. He's not pointing a finger at the IMF. He's saying, yeah, here's what happens, and here's what goes on. But you're right. He didn't say anything about, where it all came from, and So anyway, of course, then again, if he does, and if he does mention any of those kinds of things, then guess what card the government plays? They come in and remove his 501(c)(3), and guess what happens? Next thing you know, now he can't operate as a church. So,
well, he could operate as a church. He just doesn't get the tax breaks, and we all know about that anyhow. So
they dangle the carrot.
Right.
With the tax break, but if
check out
people
hushmoney.com. Hushmoney.com. There's a guy who teaches churches how to get out of 501(c)(3). So hushmoney.com or hushmoney.org.
Thanks, Steve. That's good information. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, anyway, that's basically what I wanted to, what we had found here last week, and we wanted to share this, the 26 USC 6751. Go out there and Google it, read it, and make it your own. You also want to do Title 26 USC 6203, and again, you can incorporate those into your paperwork if it resonates with you, and you understand it, and you own it, and can properly put it into its correct contents when it comes to your paperwork. Again, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not telling you not to do it. But here's what I can tell you. If it was me, I'd be all over it. I can tell you that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So just to kind of plant a seed, a couple of things. We're looking into a couple of things for our group because this group is growing immensely. We're getting getting a lot of folks coming here, and we're real happy about that. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're providing great content and good information. And I guess some of you, I went out of town this last weekend, and I was gone from Thursday, came back yesterday, and I did not take my computer with me. And you know what? I got to tell you, it was great to be away from the computer. It was great to be away, and I just totally detached. and I made an absolute commitment to myself and my family, and that was live one day at a time, live 1 second at a time, stay out of tomorrow and stay out of yesterday, and just enjoy your family. My son had gone out of town with his best friend's mom down to see some family, and so it was just my wife and my daughter and I, and we met up with a couple people, and we just had an absolute blast. So I did not listen to, and I haven't listened to the archive yet either, about Dr. Sam Kennedy, the fiction, and his apparent position with fictional Pastor Tony King, or Fisher, or Fisher King, or King Fisher, whatever, whoever he is, and whatever both of those guys are calling themselves these days. Here's my view on both of them. Kennedy has certainly put out some very, very interesting information, but it's my understanding that his name is not Sam Kennedy. So whether it's his last name is Unger or Berkowitz or whatever it is, is he coming to the table as a fiction because he doesn't want, the feds after him? Well, we all kind of know that if the feds want you, guess what? They're gonna come grab you. And certainly, Sam has raised enough hell out there that that if they were going to silence him, it would seem to me that they would have come and hauled him away by now. So I'm not going to. And the only reason I say that is that if he's using the excuse as a fiction, why? Again, and if he wants to stay free and clear, then that's still not the way he's doing it, because he has events, he announces them, and he's had lots of events, and they could have showed up and drug him out the front door if they really wanted to do that. Because I don't think at the end of the day, if they wanted to come get any of the so-called gurus out there, and Kennedy or Winston Shroud or Turner or Hines or Clarence or any of these men and or women who go out here and put on seminars and so on, I think they could probably come get them anytime they wanted. So the question is, why does he portray himself in the fictional character? Now, Tony King, on the other, his name was Tony Fisher, and then he changed it to King. Then it was Pastor. So that's an all caps fiction. So, what's up with that? So Kennedy's now saying that 90% of the information that he's putting out there about the DTC is correct, and at the end of the day, come on, we got to use sensory acuity here. I read a book few years ago. It was a great book. It was called What the Blink, and we can make a determination within the blink of an eye, and we know, as long as we keep ourselves centered on what's right and what's wrong. And so, something didn't resonate with me about Pastor King, from the very get-go. Larry Williams, something didn't resonate with me. His assistant, Nana, that whole process. And they were defending. So, I have firsthand information from people that I know and love and trust immensely, would trust with my family's life, who were in Ohio, who spent time with this guy, Pastor King. And he didn't have two nickels to rub together just a few months ago. So if he's tapped into the DTC, what's up with that? Why is he living in poverty? And why is he charging absorbent amounts of money? Obviously, he can do his seminars, he can charge what he wants. But as a pastor, I don't know that that's, on the right line of paying it forward. So, I don't know. And then, we have some of these other people out here that are saying that, Tim Turner and his assistant are federal agents. Well, look, I'm not 100%. I don't have 100% on anything, but I'm 99.99% sure that is absolute, total, 100% BS. And again, I have some people that have spent quite a bit of time in Tim's camp, and we also have some firsthand information that his technology is working. And there's also, some information that I have recently come into that, there's been a couple assassination attempts. So, I don't know. Here's what I do know. You can't fix the problem with the same consciousness that caused it. To use the same consciousness to fix it. It's not going to work. And that's why, I love the monkey story, the 100 Monkeys. Some of you have heard me tell it, and I'll tell it, at another time. But we're coming around to 3/4 of the hour here, and I don't want to be too long on this call tonight. So what I'd like to do is open up the call, and we'll take a couple questions. What I'd like to do, if you could, is keep your questions as they relate to the subject matter that we talked about this evening. So what you want to do, and Matthew will be working with us here on that. And if you have a question, hit *8 on your phone there, and that'll let Matthew know that you have a question. And if you're going to ask a question tonight, do us a favor, ask it. Hey, if it was you, what would you do if? So that way, again, so we're all crystal clear that we're not giving legal advice here. We don't give legal advice or tax advice here. Again, just preface your question, if it was you, what would you do if this happened? So it looks like we already have a couple of callers with questions, so we'll go ahead and open it up. Go ahead, Matthew, and let me know what we got.
Okay, Dave, our first caller is Kevin from Nebraska. Kevin, you have been unmuted.
Hey,
Hey,
Dave.
Kevin.
Kevin in
Kevin.
Nebraska. I have a little different twist on the frivolous filing. I've received one of those and responded, and then they've written back and said, give us another 3 weeks, so apparently they don't know what to do. But I've also received Yeah, that was funny.
Before you go any further, Kevin, can you back up and can you share with the listeners what was the, you don't have to go over all of it, but what was the gist of your letter and your response to them?
How about we cover this next subject, and I'll look it up, and then I'll come back on, and I'll tell you exactly what I did.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
I got a letter from the IRS pertaining to a specific tax year, 2006, where I filed an OID 1040, and
A 1040 or 1040X?
a 1040. It was an original filing. It was late. They acknowledged receipt of the 1040. Months later, they send me a letter dated June 1 that says, we have determined there's a deficiency in your income tax as shown. And what they did was totally disregard the 1040 filing that I put in, and they filed their own.
Okay. If you go to the Yahoo location that we spoke of, the Free Americans, you'll see that there's as Matthew said, there's two files there, and if you read through there, Kevin, there's answers to that deficiency.
Okay. And meanwhile I'll look up what I sent them, and I'll come back on.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Got someone else, Matthew?
Yeah, Dave, the next one is the user ID is Blackwater Frog. Go ahead, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, hey, my name's Kenny. I'm in California.
Hey, Kenny.
I just wanted you to repeat, you were talking about some USC code sections earlier. Would you repeat those real quick?
Yeah, and there'll be, you have 26 USC 6751. And
okay.
26 USC 6203 and 7491C.
7491 is also 26.
Yes, I believe so. Yes,
USC
it
26, 26 7491. Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for coming, for listening tonight.
Uh-huh.
Who else you got, Matthew?
That's all I have for now. I had a couple of callers that had requested questions. I don't know if they got dropped off. Oh, Kevin's back. Let me bring him back on here.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, you're back.
I haven't found that info yet. But I have a question about the Title 26. My understanding of law is that Title 26 is, I'm trying to think of the term. Maybe you can help me with this, Dave. It's like unsubstantiated law, or it's not a true law. And if we plead or use that title, then we are giving jurisdiction to their process or to their system. Like Title 15 is considered a true law or a real law. Title 15 pertains to debt collectors, and it's looked at. Are you familiar with what I'm trying to talk about here? Or explain?
Yeah, you're saying yes. Title 15 is Fair Debt Collection Practices
Yes.
Act, and Title 26. Yes, I have heard people state that that's their IRS law as they wrote it. I'm
trying to think of the real legal term, Dave. I'm not coming up with it right at the moment, but it's various titles are, half of them are like fictitious law, like Title 26 it pertains to sections and codes and stuff like that.
Well, obviously they're operating under the color of law anyway, because there's only one ultimate authority. And so in my view of things, so everything else, all their codes and all their statutes and federal rules of procedure and everything on down the line is all man's stuff. Well, they have created this mess. They are the ones that bankrupt the country. They're the ones that took the gold. They're the ones that took the silver. There is no legal money in existence today, and it is their responsibility, based on law and House Joint Resolution 192, and the laws that back that up escape me at the moment, but they're there. I know if Tina's on the call, she can spit them out
I'm
very
muted.
easily.
Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Oh, great. So
You sure are, Tina.
All right.
so what's the
Public Law
law?
7310. Public Law 7310, or I prefer to refer to it as Chapter 48, Stat 112, and the stat is the congressional statutes at large. H.R. 192 refers to a resolution, which, can be changed just like our New Year's resolutions, but when you refer to it as the actual congressional laws, it has a little more validity to it.
Yes,
and I have something to add to that. Here's, Dave, where we've been and what we're doing, and, Title 26 applies to trustees. You asked at the beginning, what is the Constitution? Constitutor means to transfer the debt onto a third party, and when they did the Constitution, some people say that it hasn't been ratified, it's not in effect. It's in effect, but not in a way that they taught us it was in effect. It's the ultimate trust agreement of the land, which transferred the liability of the debt onto us, the people, as trustees, and the Crown became the beneficiary. While everything flows on down that way, we became the trustees, and as a part of a trust agreement, Title 26 does apply to you in that capacity. But the good news is you can change it. Stay tuned later for more.
Yeah. And we are obviously very excited about the very, very hard and intense work that is going on behind the scenes of this group. And we're going to share that information possibly in a different format than what we are currently using. So we're still discussing that and studying that and deciding how that's going to be assimilated. So the bottom line is, within 26 USC, yes, she said it very, very well as the assignment as the trustee. Here's an interesting question: how many of us saw Bernanke and Paulson get up before Congress and put $700 billion into the system and gave the bill to the taxpayers? How many of you declined their offer of contract? Well, I suspect that most of us did. And yet they got right up there in front of everybody. And guess what? If you don't decline their offer, then guess what? They assume that you're okay with that $36,000 or what is it, $38,000 that every man, woman, and child in America today, excluding the aliens, now owe the federal government. So maybe that's something we'll talk about on another call, what you might want to do about that. So anyway, that's the name of that tune. Matthew, do you have anybody else that has any questions?
Yeah, Steve Z wants to jump in.
Well, good. We want Steve Z to jump in. Go ahead, Steve.
Steve, go ahead.
I just was wondering if anybody knew of anyone down in St. Petersburg that was a notary.
Does somebody know anybody in St. Petersburg that's a notary? Is that your question?
Mm-hmm.
I do not.
Michael B. might know.
Yeah, but where is he?
I haven't talked to him. I got his number, but
I can put that question out there to him if you'd like me to do that. Are you?
Yeah, can you do that for me? Because I've tried to get a hold of him and he's kind of disappeared, as you know. So.
Well, he's doing some things and he's spending some time with his family, and so.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, so he's doing what he needs to do, and I totally respect and appreciate that very much.
Well, and I do too. So. All right. Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
There's some friends of mine down there that need a notary, so that's what I'm checking.
Okay.
I can help them out if you don't care what state it's from.
No, they need the actual witness.
Oh, I got
witness you. and then to mail the paperwork. So.
Yep. All righty. Any other questions tonight?
Yeah, actually, Kevin is back. Kevin, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey, I found that letter. It's a pretty simple letter. One philosophy I've always used is mirroring what they do. So if they say, "Dear taxpayer," I put something back like, "Dear government employee." And we all understand they're not, but if they don't rebut it, they're admitting that they are. So, "Dear government employee, consider my timely and good faith response to your form letter, 3176 SC revised 7-2007 catalog number 26860K, dated April 27th, 09 from the above person so stated, who is Miss Green. It's not my intent, nor has it ever been, to reflect any desire to delay or impede the administration of federal tax laws. Further, it's not now, nor has it ever been my intent to file anything that's considered frivolous under Section 6702C, nor the Notice 2007-30, 2007, 14 IRB 883 at the government website that was mentioned in their letter to me. Can you help me in being more specific with this site? As I have looked at the site and cannot figure out what I may be in breach of any information found on the site. So can you be more specific and quote the verbiage for me in order for me to refile if that is what I need to do? Can you identify what specifically the following statement is referring to? Quoted from your letter, federal courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States, have considered and repeatedly rejected as without merit positions such as yours. What specifically is there in the 2007 1040 that warrants such a letter from your department? If there is a problem, I'll gladly submit corrections. Can you identify them specifically so that we can take care of this? Can you identify what Publication 2105 has to do with the 2007 1040 in question? As I have read through it, and I do not see anything that comes into conflict with the 1040 in question. If I did not hear from you within 30 days from the date of this letter, I'll consider this matter closed, and that the letter you sent to me was sent in error. Upon another examination of the 07 filing of the 1040 for the above referenced Social Security number, Can you show me specifically what is wrong with the return, as I do not find one? Sincerely signed on the right side as authorized representative, attached copy of their letter. That's what I sent to them.
Okay, and just so to clarify my thinking, did you draft that yourself, or did you take bits and pieces from this and that, or what could you share with us about that?
Oh, I pretty much drafted it myself. I may have read things and, thought about it, but typically I do not copy and paste. I look at something and rewrite in my own language, if you will, just because I want it personalized and I want to understand what I'm writing. And I have enough confidence, Dave, to do that. So.
Right. Understood. Okay. Good. Well, I liked it. It had a nice flow to it. Obviously, it had good vibrational merit to it, and so it sounded really good. I liked it.
And I did send it certified mail too.
And did you do it under notary seal?
I didn't, but they did respond, so they obviously received it. I'm actually thinking about.
And they responded saying we need 3 weeks to.
Yeah, they actually responded that says, please accept our apology for not being able to review your response dated 3/05, and this is dated July 6th. Please give us to 7/20. You don't need to respond. However, if you have any questions, blah, 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 you can call us and talk to one of our idiots at the home office, So that's what they sent. And I'm actually thinking about replying and saying, you've had your 30 days. Thank you for your acceptance of my letter and acknowledgement of such. You had 30 days. You failed to respond. I'm looking for my 1040 to be processed, including my refund. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Right on.
So that's what my thought is. I mean, they don't give us extra time typically, so if they answer late, that's their problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, you gave them 30 days. I think that's a pretty gracious amount of time. 30 days, come on. If they can't get to it in 30 days, then what are they going to do? I mean, come on. You think they're going to give you that long?
No.
I wouldn't think so either, brother. So
So I have a question. When one is responding to this stuff, do you think it's necessary, if it's all coming from Miss Green's office, to separate your responses through a notary, or do you think one could just put 4, 5, 6 letters into a single correspondence and just have the notary say that enclosed is, 5 correspondence all pertaining to these years and blah, blah, blah?
You can't, of course, you can always do it under notary seal. I don't think that's ever a bad decision, my humble opinion, if it was me. But you can also do the certificate of service through your post office, which means that you can use the affidavit certificate of service, which basically says that you're sending such and such a document, document 1, document 2, document 3. It was all put into the envelope, and then your postmaster will stamp it with their stamp and certify that the information that you said that you were sending to whatever party has been inspected by the postmaster. And you know what? They won't screw around with the UPU. So when a postmaster puts a stamp on a certificate of service, which is an affidavit form, and what you do is you make it's a certificate of service, it's an affidavit, a certificate of service, and you get 2 originals. If it was me, you sign it in blue ink, you put your thumbprint in red, and you put a 2-cent postage stamp down in the lower right-hand corner of it, along with 2-cent postage stamps on your documents. I would put 2 cents postage stamps on the right on the front right corner at the bottom, and then I'd also do it on the back of every document, and I'd sign across it diagonally on every document. And that's it.
What else I would do, Dave?
Sure. Hey, wait. You said you were not going to talk tonight. That's what you said. So that money, and you were going to do something to me about taking my wage and all that. So anyway, go ahead, liar.
But what I would do if it were me, I would also thank them for their letter that constitutes mail fraud. A reason why I say that, because every letter that I get, I immediately take it down to the post office, take it out of the envelope in front of them, and have them stamp it. Why? Because if you ever look at the date on whenever I look at my date on a correspondence that they sent to the taxpayer, it's 3 days. For instance, I got it today, but the letter was dated, let's say July the 11th, when it's the 8th. So you dated the letter 4 days out in advance from when you mailed it, but yet you say you mailed it on that day.
That's a great distinction, because I will tell you, I had read a letter from Maureen Green, which I suspect there is no such thing as Maureen Green. I believe she's probably a computer generated name of some kind, but I'm not 100% sure. That's just my hallucination. And anyway, I saw this letter, and it was dated. The letter was dated. Well, I'll just say it was like the 1st, and they didn't even mail it, for like 2 weeks later. I also found that different court systems do this exact same thing. They date it on such and such a date, and then they mail it, and then they give you, you have 10 days to respond, and the next thing you know, you get it 3 days before you had time to respond to it. So, again, just trickery and nonsense. Here's somebody that's emailing me, said the letter was received July 7th. The date was June 24th. So that's typical. That's how people of dishonor work. Anyway, I was going to share with you very quickly before we have to get off the call tonight. Was another letter that was somewhat similar to what Kevin just shared with us, and so this is to Maureen at the Department of Treasury in Ogden, and it's from John Doe, and it has the date of the letter and so on in response to the actual letter itself. All these different letters, like a lot of these people that are getting the letters, you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, it's a 3176C. Again, it'll say LTR 3176C. And this one just says, Dear Computer Green, please find my response to your letter dated such and such for my 07 amended 1040 return, whereby you give me 30 days to respond to your letter. Maureen, I find your letter very disturbing. I am sure you're not demanding that I commit a crime, are you? I bring attention to Section 6751, which was just recently added, I believe, to this, and to Title 266203. You are hereby notified to furnish me of the assessment. Then it goes on to say that, Maureen, you can easily resolve this issue by checking the QSIT number assigned to whatever the creditor's name is against the 1099 OID filing in question, and research it against IRS's TTNL tracking system to confirm the unearned income that was drawn against the credit account, Social Security number of the person, and the interest that was earned. I am not duty bound. Am I not duty bound to report this unearned income to the IRS? I'm sure this is a mere oversight and will be quickly resolved when you check your TTL tracking system. I respectfully remind you, Maureen, of your fiduciary responsibilities in this matter. Because of the seriousness of your demand, I will need you to fill out the enclosed public servant questionnaire that you are required to do under federal and state laws when requested to do so as Exhibit A. You are required to forward this information to me in accordance with standard procedure by government agents and officials. See Internal Revenue Manual, Section 242.133, and other authorities for various questions on a questionnaire just to ensure me that you are acting honorably and will expedite my refund as soon as possible. You have 30 days to return the questionnaire, though I will be mailing this response on the date it was created in an honorable fashion. So obviously this person had received, the letter dated blah, and it was not received until whatever, and then they want you to respond within 30 days, literally only giving you 15 days or 10 days, however it's stated. For your convenience, I've enclosed copies of Schedule B of the 1040X for that particular year, amended return, along with copy B of the 1099A and copy C of the 1099 OID. As confirmation of the corrected filings, annexed as Exhibit C, it is quite obvious that your real issue is with so-and-so bank for failing to report the income and the interest income. Per the Internal Revenue Service Publication 1212, I am to file my 1099 OIDs and 1099As and 1099 INTs if not filed properly by the commercial banking system at all. The banking system is holding my withholding and should have already been extracted or should be extracted by the Internal Revenue Service by way of the 1099A filing. I have deposited my funds with the banking system in good faith, which would pay the proper share of tax due the required by that institution. Michael White at the Federal Register has gone on record making it clear that the IRS must abide by 26 CFR. The 1040 return settlement form presented was done correctly, and the amount reported on the form was also reported correctly in accordance with 26 U.S.C. Section 1271 through 1275 per publication 1212 by the IRS. By the way, any of you out there who are doing OIDs, if you don't have a copy of the publication 1212 and you haven't read it, then you're making a mistake by filing and not knowing what you're doing. I am following the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, stare decisis, the mandates of various legislation such as the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and Treasury directives. The IRS has stated in the publication 1212 that the purpose of the 1099 OID is to alert the IRS where the interest is to be sent so you can close out the fiscal year by sending the interest tax back in the calendar year to the creator of the debt credit. The IRS is to collect and return value of the note cash item back to the principal. Publication 1212 under showing the OID adjustment states it should be listed on Schedule B. That is exactly where it's been placed per those instructions. Furthermore, Congress cannot grant any power to the IRS except as is granted to Congress by the Constitution. This is clearly understood and expressed by the Secretary of Treasury in 26 CFR 601-106 Rule 1. By the way, we'll post this on the Yahoo group for those who would like to take a look at this. And it goes on to say, it talks about some other things in the, with the government and appeals and so on and so forth. And then it just basically kind of signs it off. I am fully in accord with the laws that make it clear everything must be done decently and in order. Also take note that the U.S. Supreme Court has placed clearly defined restrictions on your actions. In Watson versus Tarpley, 59 U.S., it goes, tells the year and all that. If you fail to abide by the rulings of this High Court stare decisis, as well as your own codes and implementing regulations, this matter will be presented to the Inspector General for Tax Administration and member of the Treasury Data Integrity Board. Notice the principals, notice the agent. Notice the agent is notice the principal. So, there you have it. So let's go ahead and Matthew, if you'd so kindly share with the group before we sign off here tonight and sign off with a prayer that how to go to the Yahoo group and get any of the documents and stuff that we've mentioned on the calls over the last couple of months.
Sure will, Dave. You want to go to groups, groups.yahoo.com. There's a search box on the screen. You're going to type in The Free Americans, and that's plural, and it will come up. You can go ahead and click on it, follow the links to join the group, and once you have joined the group, you will have access. On the left side, you'll see several links. One of those links is files. There's posts. A lot of good information out there. Under files, you will see a lot of these documents that we talked about tonight. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Matthew. And don't forget, just to join the group, you send us $1,000 and you can download all those documents. I'm kidding. Obviously, it's freely given. It's free to receive. And finally, to close out tonight, here in the next couple of weeks, we're doing some research on a way that maybe some of us can earn a little extra income. At first glance, what we're looking at it right now, we like what we see. We really like what we see, but we're not ready to put it out there to anyone yet until we have 100% confirmation that you can earn what we are being told someone can earn, and that the investment is out-of-pocket investment is what we're being told it is, and which is if you're a family of four, you can't go to, well, you shouldn't be eating fast food anyway. But nonetheless, if you took your family to McDonald's, and let's just say you got Caesar salads and bottled water and their fruit cup, you can't take your family out to McDonald's one time. It's like $27, I believe, is your investment on a pretty substantial return. It is a global movement, which means it's all around the world, and the company is just getting ready to launch on July 18th. So again, we're still in the process of obtaining information, and if we feel that we're ready to announce it next week or the week after, we will do that. We will also probably want to announce it before they announce, before they launch, which is in about 10 days. So there's a good possibility that if we decide to share it with you, and it looks like we probably will, provided that a couple bits of information that we're researching right now comes through, we'll announce it next week. So you definitely want to make sure you're on this call, because I think you can make some money. Well, I know you can make some money. So that would be a good thing for many of the people that's on this call. So thank you all for coming on tonight, and thank you for your support and your questions. And some of you come on here every week, and we really appreciate you. We thank you, and we love you for that and for the brotherhood and sisterhood that this is creating. So before we sign off here, I'd like a moment of silence for the many people who lost their homes today and this week in foreclosure, followed by a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask your help and support to hold those people who lost their homes this week and maybe losing their homes in the future, that you rise them up and you give them strength and understanding, and know that everything that's happening is happening for your good and for your bidding. And we just ask, Father, that you give people strength and hope and wisdom, and don't let them give up, and understand that everything is possible through you. Father, I want to thank all the people who come on this call. I want to pray for them. I want to pray for their families. I want to pray for their well-being and their prosperity. I want to pray for all the people that help us with these calls and all the information and the knowledge of the groups and all the things that are happening here that have your name written all over it. Father, we give you thanks for the people in the past who did this with this group and got this group started. And again, we just thank you for everything that you're doing for the people and for the nation. And we do know that even though sometimes things look cloudy and they look like they're wrong and all these things that are going on, there is a real man behind the curtains that's controlling everything. And we give you thanks, and we rejoice and have peace in your word. And we also pray that the people on this call continue to read Scripture and strengthen themselves and their family and their hope and their well-being. And together in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Have a great week. And we'll be on there 8 o'clock next weekend.
Thanks, Dave.
Next Wednesday night.
The person you have called is unavailable.